Okay, it's on.
Okay, so today, foot. Patient prep is to take the shoe and sock off. If they have any foot jewelry, it should be removed. I don't think anybody pierces anything down there, but they could have a toe ring on. So any foot jewelry should be removed. You will have to take your shoe off next week, but you can leave your sock on. Or if you have, however you feel about that. We do keep some spritz around here should anybody need to spritz their foot.
Yeah, because if I'm wearing my chacos, you don't want
Oh,
So we'll go with that. We're going to use the 10 by 12 lengthwise so that it goes with the long axis of her foot. And I'm going to start with the AP, which has a 10-degree cephalic angle. And I am at 40 inches to the tabletop because we are back to tabletop for this, okay? All right, I'm going to ask my patient to bend her knee. We're going to bend it up pretty far because I want to be able to place her foot flat on the cassette without her having to be extended. If you don't bend the knee all the way up, then the foot doesn't stay flat on the cassette. So you really need a good bend of the knee. We don't have to worry about being locked in transversely so that we can meet this. And what we want to do is I'm going to collimate to her foot. Make sure you have good light field on all sides. You don't get any useful information from the calcaneus aspect here. So you don't even see this. So don't worry about that at all, but make sure you have light on both sides and to the toes. The central ray should enter about the base of the third metatarsal, which is going to be just as you come into the high point of the foot. So where you see the hump of the foot, you're going to center just before you get to the hump of the foot. Okay, and then when we hang these, we hang digits up. So I'm going to place my marker so that it can be read when the digits are hanging up. So if I was the patient, the marker would be in the correct position. Okay, and that's what that looks like. It is important to do that 10-degree angle. That opens up the joint spaces, so be sure you don't forget to do that. Questions? Okay. Now we're going to go to the medial oblique. I'm taking the angle off, so I'm going to be perpendicular. Going to come back and center to the same area. I'm going to have my patient turn her foot in. So I'm going to have her at the knee, just turn the foot in. And I want to have her turn in a little bit more than that, about 30 degrees. Okay, if you can't see 30 degrees, go 45 and then back off a little bit. Because sometimes 30, just coming from flat to 30 is hard to see. But if I was to go, what would be 45 and then come off of that a little bit, it's easier to tell 30 sometimes, okay? I'm still going to have my central ray enter just above the, just before the hump of the foot. Here now, you actually can see the calcaneus. This is not ordered to evaluate the calcaneus at all, but if opening up your collimation just a little bit gets you the whole collimation, gets the whole calcaneus for you, open it up a little bit. I mean, there's no reason not to get that information. And then be sure to always check that you have light field all the way around, particularly to that medial aspect, because sometimes when you turn it in, this medial part gets very close to your your collimation, so be sure you don't collimate that off. Okay, and then I can leave the same marker placement as I had before.
This might be a silly question, but if they do roll over and it cuts in the collimation, would you need to move the foot over and adjust that, or would you just need to let your collimation out?
No, I would probably just slide the foot back over.
Okay.
Because your collimation should be pretty good, because it's not going to change a lot in size when we go from the AP to the oblique.
Okay.
So your collimation is probably fine. Because if you just open it up, then what will happen, you'll have a lot of collimation here to the lateral aspect and just a little bit to the medial. And you always want to try to keep the parts centered to your collimation. Because sometimes there's not a great and wonderful single place for us to say to collimate. And when that happens, then we just want to make sure that we have equal light on all sides. Okay. All right, so that's our oblique. And this oblique then is going to open up the tarsal interspaces, and you probably start to see the sinus tarsi here too. All right, so that's the oblique. Now I'm going to do the lateral. I'm going to have my patient roll up on her right side. Okay. And I'm going to go around to this side and just see. Trying to stay
So you're fine.
not turned, but this is going to be a little bit easier for me this way. When we, well, and I didn't mention this before, most feet, and I don't think it'll be a problem for any of y'all, will fit lengthwise on a 10 by 12. If it didn't fit lengthwise and at your clinical site, the cassette can be read diagonally, then go diagonally and try to go diagonally, as opposed to going to a 14 by 17, which is huge. I mean, even people who have really big feet very rarely will you need a 14 by 17. So think about that. Now, when you go to the lateral, because on the lateral we have to get from toes to calcaneus, sometimes going to the diagonal on that is the best thing to do. You know, when we're not worried about the calcaneus, lengthwise works fine, but when we have to get it, you may find that even if on the AP and the oblique you didn't need to go diagonal, you will on the lateral, and that's okay. Just be sure if you go lateral, well, doesn't matter, she won't be using film. I'll try to watch where the blocker is. So on the lateral, we have a medial to lateral projection. I want the plantar surface perpendicular to the image receptor, and I'm going to have them dorsiflex the foot. Okay? So I happen to know that her foot will fit lengthwise, so I'm going to go lengthwise just to show you that. But if you feel like it's close at all, don't hesitate to go diagonal. That is an acceptable thing to do.
You said dorsiflexion.
Yes. So the first thing I'm going to do, though, is get this plantar aspect, I think her foot, the plantar aspect perpendicular. So I'm going to have her roll back this knee a little bit, and I'm going to use a sponge to support her leg so that I can roll her leg back until I get this perpendicular. Okay. Then I'm going to have her pull her foot up. So now I have my dorsiflexion, and I can just lift her foot, and I can turn that. If I think it looks like it's not perpendicular enough, like I said, just adjust and use the sponge till you get the foot perpendicular. Okay. I'm still going to be at about the same place at the base of those metatarsals. Okay, but I am going to have to open this up a little bit now because I've got to be sure that I've included the ankle. All right, you must include the ankle when it comes to the lateral. Okay. So I have light field extending up. I have the ankle. I have the calcaneus. I have the toes. The foot's dorsiflexed. I have the plantar surface perpendicular. Then I'm going to place my marker to the anterior surface, and then again show that it can be read from the toes being hung at the top. And that is my lateral foot, because I want to see those metatarsals superimposed. And that's it. Just those 3 projections next week. Woohoo! But we will have anatomy, and we will shoot an image as well. Okay. Okay, you can relax me.
Now on the shielding, when she rotates, do we need to rotate it some also?
If you hook that apron on, it'll probably flow with the patient okay. Just watch that it's not all bunched up on the tabletop and they're not covered at all, because that happens too. It's not as big a deal because she rolls some, but it's probably going to keep everybody fairly well covered. Just make sure the whole thing hasn't rolled to the front.
Okay.
You should be
Now,
okay.
so in this situation, we wouldn't have to tell them to put a gown on or anything because it's just jewelry on the foot and socks and shoes.
Correct.
And we wouldn't need to give them a blanket or anything.
No.
Okay.
Because they should be able to keep on whatever clothing they have.
Just making sure of all the questions we need to ask them.
Yeah. Just shoe and sock.
Okay.
Remove your shoe, sock, and any foot jewelry you may have on.
Okay.
And I say foot jewelry because they could have an anklet on.
Yeah.
Some people do still
I'll
wear
wear
those too.
anklets.
So, and even though we're really at the foot, I would remove the anklet for this as well. But toe rings, definitely. But,
I'm always trying to squidge them back up. Like, for a while, I was bringing back the toe ring. I was making it a thing.
Just doesn't happen.
Okay.
Doesn't work.
Alright, you want me to pause it
You
now?
can press the space bar and it'll stop it.